Welcome back at MX5 Info. In this video I will be working on a Frenz NC Miata. You may recognize this car from previous videos when I modified the instrument cluster to also display mileage and the ambient temperature, or when I installed the daytime running lights module. But on today's video I will be working on a short shifter, upgraded speakers, and on a fix for a side effect from the daytime running lights module. Before I can install the short shifter, I first need to remove the center console. And for that I will be using these two tools. This is a bone tool and a screwdriver. The bone tool you can use to pry up the plastic parts, like this one. We need to remove that one because there are two screws underneath, one over here and one over here. Then there is another screw underneath this rubber mat. We can take this part out, and then the rubber piece as well, and there we will find a third screw. We also need to remove this boot, and again I can use the bone tool to pry up this part, move it out of the way so it's held in at the front as well, and then I can move it over the lever like so and get it out of the way. Then here we have another rubber mat, and there are no screws on this case because it's the NC2, different than the NC1. We also have to remove the shift knob. I will take out the screws and then remove the center console, and then we'll pick it up from there. All the screws have been removed now, but before you can remove the center console you have to disconnect the connector from this window switch, and for that you need to be underneath around here to disconnect that plug. It's not really easy, but once you've managed to do that, put up the e-brake lever as high as you can, because it will make it easier to get the console out. Now you can just lift it up at the back and remove it. So this is the connector I was referring to for the window switch. It is quite tough. I ended up pushing on it with a screwdriver over here before I could actually remove the plug. This plug is unused, so is this one. Not sure what these are intended for, but it doesn't matter for now. I will now have to remove this shift boot and this isolation, and then we can work on the short shifter. Do yourself a favor and get a clip removal tool like this. This also comes in handy when you have to remove this clip that ties down the wiring over the bolt. I have removed the 4 nuts, and you can use a deep socket for that. Then in the instructions it says you now need to cut that white ring, otherwise you cannot remove the shift boot. So that's what we will do next. So that will make a space, and then later on this will be replaced by a tie wrap to hold down this boot on the shifter, the new shifter. With the shift boot out of the way, we can see that the shifter is held down by 3 bolts. Those will have to be removed, and then you can pull the shifter out of the gearbox, but you need to do that while the gearbox is in neutral. After removing the 3 bolts I had to wiggle this plate a bit, pry it up, but now the shifter is free. So when you actually remove it, make sure you have some paper towel or something ready, because some oil will come out. Now that the shifter is out, we also need to remove another part of the bearing, and we can do that by hand. So this part also needs to come out. So I will show you, and there's some other spring material. I think that will stay down there. I will show you in a minute what the differences are between the old and the new shifter and what parts need to be transferred. On the left we have all the materials that came out of the car. This is our new shifter. You can see the difference that this part is much longer than on the original shifter. It means that the rotation point will be higher up, and that will allow us to get a shorter throw for the shifter. Then this boot will be replaced by a new one. There's some gasket material, some spring material that will be placed on top of the shifter. This part needs to be transferred because it's missing here, and also this part needs to be transferred because it's missing there. And this ring is basically what allows us to get the rotation point up higher, so it will be placed in such a way that this part is just simply higher up than it used to be. And when you do that, you change the ratio. So movement over here needs to be much longer to get the rotation down here, or the movement here, whereas if this part is longer relative to the rotation point, then the throw just becomes shorter. Since the instructions from the vendor are inconclusive, I will quickly share the order in which I installed the parts. The old spring goes in first, followed by the plastic ring that is placed over the pin in the gearbox. Number 3 is the washer. Number 4 is the original lower bearing ring. Then you place the paper gasket and the big metal ring on top of it. The pin fits in an opening of the lower bearing. The pin of the ring should be directly above the original pin of the gearbox. Now the shifter can go in with the transferred parts. Number 8 and 9 are the white upper bearing and the spring that goes on top of it. Number 10 is the new boot. Then you use an Allen key to fasten the 3 bolts with spring washers. Number 12 is the part that goes into the top of the large shift boot. Okay, so the short shifter is now in the gearbox. Definitely has a shorter throw. I used the last parts to install this part on the shift boot, including the tie wrap that came with the kit. So now what I need to do is install the nuts here of the shift boot to tie that down, and then put the center console back in place. Don't forget to plug in this connector for the window switch. But that's it for the shifter. For the speaker upgrade, I need to remove this door card. It's held in place by 3 screws. First screw is down there in this cup holder. The second one is behind this door handle, and the third one is behind a small plastic cover over here. I can try to use a small screwdriver to get behind that plastic panel and then pry it forward like so. And there we go. Now for the door handle, it's slightly more complicated, requires more force. You need to protect the door card a bit and then stick a flathead screwdriver as deep into the door handle as you can. Let me use 2 hands for that. The screwdriver is now in, I think 1/4 of an inch, something like that, and then I need to start prying out, and you hear the noises. It sounds awful, but it's held in place by a number of clips. Maybe when I just move further in, yeah, there we go, and then I can pull on the door handle and take it off, and then we can see that there is a screw right at the top there that we need to remove. When those screws are removed, you can use a tool like this to pry loose the door card. For example, starting near the speaker. And you will hear the clips pop loose. And when they're all loose, you can move the door card upward and towards you. And you will see that there are still a number of connectors also for the door release mechanism. The door lock release mechanism, those have to come loose as well. The door card is held in place by clips like these. And I noticed that not all of them have survived this process. So some have broken and are still in the door, as you can see here. So I will need to find a few of those. Then I can remove the speaker that I want to upgrade, but in this case I will remove the complete black panel because we also want to do some sound dampening material in this door. On the left you have the original speaker, on the right the replacement from Pioneer. Both of them are 6 by 8 inch and the holes for the screws are identical, they have the same pattern. I've already test fitted one of the speakers and I will have to change this connector because that doesn't fit, but other than that the speaker fits right in. The black panel from the door has been removed now. I now need to assess how much material for sound insulation I can use inside this door. I've taken the door panel off from the right door as well, and as you perhaps can see on the inside there's a lot of protection against rust, but if we want to stick on sound insulation then that has to be removed. So on the other door I've already done so. So what I've used is degreaser. So now the surface is ready for some material that I need to stick on there. So I will have to degrease the other door as well, and then I'll continue. The sound material is now in both doors, so a lot of the inside of the door skin is now covered with this 3MOT material. So let's see what it does, but at least I can now start concentrating on getting the speakers in and connected. The gray connector is the original plug for the speakers. What I've done here is I've left that in place, but also spliced into those wires. In this case, for the left-hand door, the red wire is the positive, the plus, and the green wire is the negative cable for the speaker. So the positive wire gets the wider terminal than the minus cable. On the other side, for the right-hand side, the white and black wire on the car is the positive, and the yellow and red wire is the negative. So I've done both sides. I will now tape things up and then the speakers can go in. The speakers are in place and they work. So now I need to put the door card back on. I did break some clips, but fortunately a friend nearby, Joris, had a few clips for me. It is not uncommon for these clips to break, so before you start, perhaps good to have some spare. Let's talk about the side effect of the daytime running light module. So under normal circumstances, when you have your ignition on, the lighting in the instrument cluster is bright. But when we start using the DRL module, it dims because now the headlights and taillights are on and the car thinks we are driving in a dark situation, therefore it dims the lighting in the instrument cluster. So if we want to avoid that, we need to trick the system into believing that the lights are not on, whereas in fact they are. So I will be installing a relay to prevent the instrument cluster to dim during the daytime. Here you see my solution for the DRL issue. So I have a relay, and I will show you quickly how I connected it. So on the right top corner I have a blue and red wire coming from the room fuse. This provides constant power. Underneath that is a yellow and red wire that's coming from the DRL module. This one is grounded when the light switch is used actively, so for the taillights or headlights. And on the left hand side we have two wires that used to be one wire coming from this fuse number 5 for illumination. So I cut that wire and connected both sides to the relay. So when the ignition is on, nothing changes. Only when the light switch is being used, then this yellow and red wire is grounded and the relay is activated, and in that instance the interior illumination will be on. I will quickly demonstrate that the issue is solved now. If we want to use the daytime running lights, we can release the e-brake and the lights will go on until I pull up the e-brake. When I use the regular light switch, then we see that the instrument cluster lighting will be dimmed. The lights are on until the light switch is off again. My work on this car is done for now. Please leave your questions and remarks in the comment section below. If you liked the video, hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching MX5 Info, and until next time.